Hi guys. So this video, I'm actually filming this before January 30th because I want it out for Bell Let's Talk Day. This video is just going to be a recap, kind of like a reflection overview of my mental health from January to December 2019. I'm gonna put a trigger warning right here. If you're sensitive to any topics of mental illness regarding suicide, self-harm, eating disorders, hospitalization, any of that stuff, please don't watch this. This is not meant to trigger, well, I mean, it's triggering stuff that happens with mental illness, but my goal here is not to trigger people. The purpose of this video was just to show that with the proper help and treatment and communicating and such, that you can get better and things do improve with the video. So January 2019, I started 2019, like I went to the year, I was not in a good state of mind at all. I was having constant suicidal thoughts. I was struggling with self-harm in various forms, including disordered eating. And I didn't have any passions. I was in such a dark place. I was at the end of my life. I couldn't find the will to live anymore. I was sick of everything. I just wanted to end it. And then on January 29th, after a whole month of, well, over a month, like a few months from like October or something of 2018, of constant suicidal thoughts, on January 29th, I attempted suicide. And I was hospitalized about 8 to 10 hours later on Bell Let's Talk Day, which is January 30th, which is hopefully when this video comes out. So the day that this video is going to be up, hopefully, it will make a year since my last suicide attempt and a year since my last hospital admission. So that's how I started 2019, just in a horrible place, and a suicide attempt, and being hospitalized. I was on a Form 1, which means that I had to stay at the hospital for a maximum of 72 hours, being watched, because I was a danger to myself, and also meant that while I was in the emergency room waiting to be seen, if I were to leave hospital grounds or they couldn't find me, they had the right to contact the police to come get me, come find me, whatever, because I was a danger to myself, and I had to be admitted. So that's what a Form 1 is. Yeah, so I was admitted January 30th, the Let's Talk Day. I knew I was getting admitted because I had a suicide attempt and I had been hospitalized 7 months before that. So I was fully prepared for being admitted, and at this point, it was the last thing. It was the last option for me, was being hospitalized. So that happened, and after about 2.5 days, so over maybe 50 so hours, about 2.5 days of being in the hospital, they said, okay, you can be discharged. no. I knew that if I would have been discharged, that I would just once I got home or in the outside world, I would just go back to everything that I was doing and probably attempt again. So they had tried to convince me to get discharged 2 or 3 times in a span of a week and a half. And this was going into February now. And I just said, no, I can't. I can't. So now we move on to February. I spent most of February in hospital, inpatient. So I was in hospital for about a month. Um, and I'm not gonna lie, it was awful. Being in hospital is not fun. Um, and during that hospital stay, like I struggled a lot with letting myself feel what I was feeling, which is very important. You need to let yourself feel what you're feeling. And I was struggling so much with that. Like, I was getting so many urges, and I felt like the only way to let myself feel what I was feeling was to hurt myself, which is no, don't do it. It's not worth it. Um, so yeah, I had quite a few bad moments at the hospital, of course, because my mental health was horrendous. Um, but I also had some good memories at the hospital. Um, there was like a little gym that we would go to. We'd play badminton and all that. That was a lot of fun. I suck at badminton, but I didn't give a shit. I mean, no one's there to judge you. They're all there for a reason. So it was me and all the other people that were impatient, and we'd go to that little gym and just play badminton, and it was good. Um, and we would like walk around the property and all that. Whenever the reactivation worker was there, um, because she was there, I think 2 or 3 times a week between Monday and Friday. Like Monday and Friday, like you get the reactivation worker and you speak to the psychiatrist and all that, and you have like those group activities. And the weekends, there's not a whole lot going on. So a lot of the time was just spent with, um, you're really forced to use coping skills, which isn't a bad thing. But fucking hell does it get boring. So like they have like a lot of coloring stuff, like books, crayons, markers, pencils. They have crosswords, they have like board games, they have puzzles, they have books, they have an exercise bike, they have a fucking Wii, like they have like games and all that, like video games. So like, and there's TVs. There was like 3 or 4 TVs. It was 3 different TV rooms, and like nice chairs and all that. So like, you can keep yourself busy, um, but you're keeping yourself busy in a safe manner. So like, you're using the stuff they have for you, like coloring and all that, as a coping skill, as a way to distract you or help you with whatever you're going through. Because of course you're in hospital, like the intention is to help you not hurt yourself. So like, you can spend like 6 hours coloring and not even notice that the time's passing by. So yeah, I did a lot of that. I did so much coloring to the point where for a couple months, I love coloring. I color almost every single day. I don't like going to bed if I haven't colored. But after coloring for so much, I kind of got bored of it for a couple months, but like it came back. Um, then yeah, like I just learned new coping skills, like um, drawing out how I feel instead of writing how I feel, because I know some people struggle with writing down how they feel, and I struggle with that too. So I would draw out what I feel, because I had brought a notebook that my beautiful best friend gave me. So I would draw on that. And it would be like midnight. Bedtime was like between 10 and 11. But I would just be in my bed. I shared a bed with three other people. Not a bed. I shared a room with three other people. We had our separate beds, obviously. But I would just have my little nightlight on, and I would just draw out my emotions because, like, I would have a lot of attacks because I was not doing well. And also during that time in the hospital, like I was being put on new meds, um, which helped a lot. So yeah, that was pretty much all of February. Was just a lot of coping skills and learning new stuff, and a lot of group activities and mindfulness activities, just all that kind of stuff. I was released February 19th, so the day after Family Day. I was not ready to, but I didn't have much of a choice because they had so many people needing rooms that they were discharging the people that were doing the best out of the whole group of people, and I was one of them. Like, I was at this point I was doing pretty good. So this goes from February to March now, so these February and March are kind of like together. So from February to March, I was put into partial hospitalization program, which is it's a program that, like, after you come out of the hospital, it just helps you re-enter normal life, because obviously you're in hospital for a month. You're just surrounded, like you're just in like a building, just four brick walls, a roof on your head. Like, it's a complete different routine, and you're constantly being monitored and all that. Like, you're always getting your vitals taken and all that. You don't go outside very much, especially not during winter. But anyways, yeah, I was put into that group because they knew I wasn't ready to be discharged. I had about a week left, I think, before like the agreement we had of when I would be discharged. But I went to that group, and that helped a lot. It was a group heavily based on CBT, which, if you don't know what it is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's very helpful for people who struggle with anxiety and depression, just like learning about your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, how those three kind of like circle around each other. Like, you can't have one without the other, basically. Um, and it just helped a lot with like understanding your thoughts and your feelings and how they affect your actions, or how your affections can affect your feelings, or how, how they all intertwine together. And just they gave you more coping skills and all that for that, so that really helped. And now we're moving from late March to pretty much all of summer. So I got out of the it's PHP for short, partial hospitalization program. So I got out of PHP, and then I was put into the eating disorders program. Um, and I've been struggling with disordered eating for a couple of years now, like 2 or 3 years now. So it's not been fun. Um, so from April to late March, early April till late August, I was in the ED program, and that helped a lot. Like, it just helped because I had a psychologist I would talk to, a dietitian. I would get my vitals checked and all that, and uh, I all of these programs are voluntary. I wasn't forced to be in any of those programs. They would say, "Hey, I think this program could be useful for you," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll try it. I'll do it." And the eating disorders are awful. Like, there's no word to describe how horrendous they are. Like, when I first got into it, like, my heart was not doing very good. Um, I wasn't like dying, thank goodness. Um, but I was not healthy. like my um, well, liver, kidneys, one of these organs was not doing very well, was not processing things the way it was supposed to. I think it was my kidneys, wasn't processing things the way it was supposed to. And my heart was, I don't know how to explain it, like, and my brain obviously was messed up. So, yeah, I put, thanks to everyone who helped me, like my support group and the people in my program that helped me. I was able to get my heart and my kidneys, I believe, and my brain like back to normal. I was put on like vitamin supplements to help, just to give everything a boost. And my dietitian really helped with um, like taking very slow steps to um, integrate me back into more normal eating. That's why I was in the program for quite a few months. It's because, um, going back to like having at least 2 to 3 meals a day and at least a couple snacks a day from like what I was doing is not easy and it's terrifying. So, and I was meeting with him every week. So, yeah. And we were working together and all that. Like, they were just amazing. And yeah, so I did a lot of progress with that, which I'm very happy about. Because I was like, I'm healing myself. Because I wanted to heal myself. I didn't want to be stuck in that loop anymore. Because it's awful. It destroys your body. Like eating disorders are, especially anorexia, it's the deadliest mental illness. It kills you inside out. And I wasn't dying, but I was not in good shape at all. And that's why I was in that program, to prevent me from going even further down. So that I didn't have to get put into like an eating disorder hospital, which is like the closest one I think is like 10 hours away from where I live, which is scary. And some of the damage is not reversible. For me, I'm very thankful that everything was reversible and everything is mostly back to normal, because of course I still struggle, um, but I take it day by day. So that was pretty much all of summer. And summer itself, aside from like eating disorder and all that, the eating disorder program and all that, it was pretty good. I had a decent summer. Spent it with my partner, my best friend, my family. Like it was good. Then September rolled around, and I got sick. I got very sick with the flu. And so the thing is, I'm in recovery of eating disorder, so I'm dehydrated. I get dehydrated very fast because eating disorders dehydrate you. And because I'm in recovery, I'm recovering from all that, I still get dehydrated fast. I have meds that the side effects of pretty much all my meds is dehydration. And then I got sick in September, which means I was even more dehydrated. So I was sick for all of September and part of October. So about a month and a half, I was sick with the flu. It was horrendous. I think the last time I had been that sick was when I had strep throat. But the strep throat had only lasted like 2 weeks. This was a month and a half of me laying in bed, crying. I was done. I couldn't take it anymore. I was constantly nauseous. I was like, all the flu symptoms I had, and I passed out because I had it like a fever on and off for about a week. So yeah, I went to the clinic and they told me that I had a really bad flu and that because my immune system is kind of shot, it's better now, but it was really, really shot. Um, so they were saying like you're really, really, really dehydrated, and if things don't get better within a week, you should probably go to the hospital. So that was scary. Obviously, I got better. I drank a lot of water, Gatorade, ginger ale, that kind of stuff. And I just rested a lot. Like, I was bedridden for almost a month, over a month. So, yeah, that kind of put my mental health kind of like. My mental health was kind of like doing this for most of summer 2019. And then the flu happened, and then I just kind of went like that with my mental health. So, but I had slip ups because relapse for me is such a stern word because, like, I had been 7 months clean of everything, of any self harm. And of course, with being so sick, my brain wasn't working properly and I was miserable because I couldn't do anything because I was so sick that I slipped up with self harm. And I felt so bad because I was like, well, that's 7 months of recovery just on the drain. But then I was put into a changing behaviors program, which is centered around DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, which helps with personality disorders. I have borderline personality disorder, and all of this is gonna link together in a second. But yeah, I had borderline personality disorder, which I didn't find out until later, which I'm gonna tell you in a couple minutes. So I started that, and I was still sick. I wasn't as sick. I was getting better. I was actually able to like get out of bed and walk around and like leave the house. And with my program, I had a therapist. Sorry, I had a notification. I had a therapist, and I was talking to my therapist about like how sick I got and how guilty I felt for having relapsed and all this. Um, and this is like I said, this is like um, we're mid October now. Because I started that program late September and I missed 1 or 2 sessions because I was so sick. So this is mid October, and I was talking to her, my therapist, about what had been going on. And she said something that stuck with me, that still sticks with me. And like it's the end of January. She said, I don't like the word relapse. That's such a harsh word. Because relapse almost sounds like you're just taking all the progress you made and that's the window and you're just throwing it out. But no, no, no. That's not what you did. You had a hard time, a very hard time. Your brain was not working because your brain was focused on getting everything else better. That your mindset was fogged. I don't know how to explain that. Like, my brain was just foggy. My way of like coping with stuff, dealing with stuff was very foggy. And she said like, because you've been sick for over a month, so like your mental capacity has dropped by quite a bit. But she said you didn't relapse because you're still recovering. You just had a slip up. Slip ups happen. And that really stuck with me. So that's why I'm trying not to use the word relapse in this video. because it is such a harsh word. So that's why I'm trying to use the word slip ups, because I like the way she said that, because I'm still in recovery. I've been in recovery for almost a year now, and I'm still having a couple slip ups. I've been having like bumps in the road since I got sick. Um, and since I found out that I was diagnosed with borderline and was never told, and it was just very hard to process all of it. So I have had some bumps in the road where I did mess up, but all of that process I made is still there. Like, none of it has gone to waste. I'm still in recovery. I just went through some very difficult moments. So that was most of October. Now we're heading into like late October, most of November. So I'm talking to my therapist, and for most of the summer, I was having suspicions that I possibly had borderline personality disorder, or also known as emotionally unstable personality disorder. Um, it's gonna take a long time for me to explain in this video, and this video is already ridiculously long. So if you're curious about that, look it up. Personality disorder is it's a personality disorder. It's a chemical imbalance that happens when not only you have hereditary mental illness, which I have, but you've also experienced trauma, which I've had, and they come together in a nice little bubble of like, fuck this. Um, and that's where BPD comes from. So if you want to learn more, do some research. There's a lot of information about BPD. It's very stigmatized and I hate it. But I think it's important to talk about, because not everyone who has borderline is an angry, manipulative, dangerous, aggressive person. No, um, that's not at all the case. But yeah, most of summer I was kind of suspecting that maybe I had it or I was at risk of it because I showed a lot of signs of BPD. And they were thinking, like my psychiatrist was thinking, maybe you do have BPD. Um, and then I talked to my therapist about it, and she said, talk to your psychiatrist. Like, ask him about it. Because, it's your mental health. You have every right to know what's going on. And she said, it doesn't hurt to ask, you maybe you do, and if you do, that's fine. So this is hard to talk about because it kind of felt, because I found out that I had borderline personality disorder November 5th. Um, and I don't know how long I've had it or how long I've been diagnosed with it, but I've been diagnosed with it for a while. That's why I was in my DBT program. I thought I was in my DBT program because I showed signs of personality disorder, not because I had a personality disorder, because no one told me. November 5th, I had my psychiatrist appointment, and I had notes written down like crazy. Like, I had a page and a half to 2 pages of just notes about borderline and symptoms and signs I had that related to it. And I talked to him about it, and before my first sentence of it came out, he said, "You have borderline personality disorder." And I went silent. And I was like, "How long?" And he said, "You've been diagnosed with it for a while." And I said, "No one told me." And I told him what I thought of why I was in that group. And he said, "No, no, no. You're in that group because you do have a personality disorder." So that kind of course, made me feel betrayed by the health system, because I was struggling with my self identity, which is something that struggled with for a very long time. And I was doing a lot of work to figure out who I am as a person, who I want to be as a person. And then I was told something that I didn't know, which is very important for me to know in order to get better. And so it kind of felt like I just, all the work I've had done in the past almost year had just gone to waste, because now I had this whole new part of me that I didn't know about. And that was scary. And November and December was very scary for because of that reason, because and I felt like all my work had just gone down the drain. And I felt like I had to learn about myself all over again. And I had many a meltdown. I'm tearing up a bit right now, but I'm gonna try not to cry on camera. But I had many a meltdown, and yeah, it was just, I just wish I had known sooner. It would just have made things easier. Um, so this time I'm in week 7, I believe, of my program, and it's a 12-week program. And so now knowing that I have this personality disorder, I really put my, like, not that I was putting no effort into my group, because I put effort into all my groups. That's why I've gotten better, because I want to put the effort. I want to get better. That's why I put all of me in it. But when I found out that I do have this, that's when I really like buckled down, strapped down, like I just full full on went in, because I can't let that bring me down, because I've done so much self-improvement and I should be proud of that. I have the right to be proud of it. So, yeah, for those remaining weeks, I really went all out with my program. And of course, it being a program focused on personality disorders and DBT, it helped me learn more about my disorder and how it affects my day-to-day life and how to cope with it when I feel like I've been betrayed. Um, so yeah, I started getting better with it. I started noticing like what triggers my BPD, um, and the difference between my BPD, my depression, my anxiety, all of that, all that brain mental package that I have. And that helped, because I was just learning more about myself, learning about more about the disorder. And whenever I had attacks, and I've been doing this since I found out that I have borderline. After I have an attack, I evaluate what I remember of happening during the attack, um, and see what caused it, if it was my depression, if it was my borderline, what symptoms I was having, what signs I was showing during the attack, just as like just to evaluate, just to know in the future how to better cope with it. And that helps me a lot, actually. Like evaluating my attacks, kind of like just self-reflecting after my attacks, just to learn about them and how to better cope in the future. I'm learning from my attacks. They're not fun, but you know, I'm taking a bad thing and I'm taking that bad thing to use as good to help me for the future. So to me, that's kind of like it's a loss. I'm having an attack and I'm like not doing good, but at the end, it's also win because then it can be like, okay, okay, yeah, I'll remember that for next time so that I can be prepared, so that I can better cope. All that stuff, like a lot of self reflection. And yeah, I ended my program uh, a week before Christmas, and the holidays were wonderful. I did have some attacks during the holidays because the holidays and mental health, they don't really mix well together. Because, like, even though I had wonderful holidays, it's still a lot of stimulation. And even if it's good stimulation, I got overstimulated a few times, and I spent a small part of the holidays just in bed. Um, I'm getting emotional right now. It's just kind of a hard video to make, but it's important to make. That's why I'm doing it. So if you see me getting teary-eyed, I'm sorry. I really try not to cry in this video. It's good to cry. I cry a lot. I just don't want to cry on camera. But fuck, sorry. But yeah, the holidays were really good. Um, like I said, I had some attacks. I didn't have many slip ups, which is good. December, because I did a daily inventory thing, which my therapist gave from my past program, and December was quite a good month, and it made me realize that like it's also good to focus on the positive that happened during the day, because I have negative things that happen during my day because of my mental health, but I also have a lot of positives that happen during the day. And while reflecting on that, I was like, December was a good month. Mentally wise, it was a good month. And like I said, like although I had overstimulation, it was still good stimulation because I adored the holidays. It was probably the best Christmas, holidays, New Year's I had. But it was a lot of stimulation, so I just took some time to myself, which is important. Uh, and yeah, now we're here. January has had its ups and downs, but I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I've been on the same meds for nearly a year now, and they're still working. I'm still doing a lot of self reflection. I'm using my coping skills almost every single day because it's very important. And yeah, I just know more about myself now than I did like 2, 3 years ago, and I'm learning more about like what I can do, and how to like, ow, my knee, and how to not limit myself. Well, limit myself in a certain way, but like allowing myself to do what I can do, like around my mental illness, because of course my mental illness limits me to a certain degree, but like I can find ways to do stuff around it. So that's been really good at helping me so that like I can do what I like to do, but also know that at the end of the day, I need to take time for myself so that I don't push myself too much. So I get the rest that I need, and so that I can cope with my mental illness on a day to day basis and just, um, kind of have my life work with it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, like I said, the purpose of this video, because I'm posting it on Bell Let's Talk Day, or I want to post it, that's my goal, Bell Let's Talk on January 30th, is to show people that it's important to talk about your struggles, to get the proper help for your struggles, so that you can get better. But if you put the work in it, exhausting. It's very exhausting, I'm not gonna lie. It's not easy, but it's so worth it. And people, there's people out there that will help you, that are willing to help you. And it's just important to talk about what you're struggling with, like your mental illnesses or anything you're struggling with, because no one should have to fight by themselves. Everyone should have someone, and there is someone out there. So let's talk. Let's talk. Let's break the stigma of mental illness. It's not taboo. It happens, and we shouldn't be ashamed of it. So, if you're struggling, talk to someone. You'll find someone who will want to help you, whether it's through a hotline, like a lifeline, or I don't know, like a phone number, like whether like you're calling an organization or something that specializes in helping with that, or you're just talking to a friend or someone online. There's someone out there that is willing to help you. So it's okay to speak out. I promise. And with that, I'm going to leave. Stay safe. Off. And I'll see you next time. Bye.